Thanks for listening to Better Business, Better Life. I'm your host, Deborah Chantry-Taylor. We're going to do something a little bit fun now. This podcast, would you believe, has been going since 2020. It started off as a bit of a fun hobby, and now some 5 or 6 years later, we're 260 episodes in and still going strong. Each week I produce a new episode, but I thought it might be fun to bring back some of the old episodes and leave them just exactly as they were. So no tweaks, no edits. So there might be a little bit of poor quality in there, but at least you'll get to see and hear from some of the most amazing business people that I've spoken to over those 5 or 6 years. I really hope you enjoy the episodes, and don't forget, if you ever need any help, just reach out to me. I'm only an email away, deborah@businessaction.com.au or deborah@businessaction.co.nz. Better Business, Better Life, here to help. So welcome to another episode of Better Business, Better Life. Today I am joined by Liam Forde, who is the CEO and founder of The Zone Global. And we've just been having a chat in my office for about the last hour and a half or so about life, the universe and everything. So super excited to find out from Liam for you some of the things that he has experienced in his lifetime. Welcome.
Hey, thanks, Deborah. It's really great to be here. And of course, I'm a fan of EOS, so I don't need to plug it, but I always will.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I like to always ask our guests to give us a little bit of a history about themselves, so their background, where they came from, and a personal professional best that you've had in your life.
Yeah, well, I was born in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and I came from a very modest, poor family, in fact, and so if I look at where I am today, I never would have predicted that I would have got to where I am today based on where I was born, how I was born into. I was born into a very violent family and disruptive. So when I was a kid, I was sort of like a bit of a scaredy pants, like I'd be like behind my mum's skirt. And that takes a lot to get through over life. But she was my rock, because she was the kindest person I know, and the kindest person I know today in my family. I mean, I'd come home and there'd be people sitting around the dinner table I'd never met before. And she'd say, "Oh, I just found them on the street and they looked hungry, so I made them dinner." And then, I'd see people steal stuff, and I'd say, "Hey, Mum, that person just talked." She said, "They probably need it more than me."
Wow,
that's an amazing lady. Yeah, that was a bit of my background. And then I started off wanting to be a vet, so I went down to Massey University, for those of you who know, which is this little town down in this middle of nowhere, bloody freezing. And but I really found that I loved animals too much, and being a vet, you have to be sort of like quite cool and removed from it. Not that I'm saying vets don't love animals, they do, but I couldn't do that.
Well, you can't afford to get involved on a day-to-day basis.
It
would destroy you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I found. So I ended up then doing a science degree, and as part of that, I did psychology, and I found that really, really interesting. So anyway, I left New Zealand at, I don't know, 20, or when I finished my degree. Got on an OE, went to Australia, worked on a building site, made some money, went to the UK. And then I stumbled into starting my own business, or becoming part of a business, which was in the recruitment area.
Really?
Yeah. It was really crazy. I just liked people. And anyway, I grew that business to, it was about a $30 million business, and we had 600 people. So I grew quite a large business, and I realized, I was quite a good entrepreneur. But the real story is that I came back to New Zealand, and I was at a party with my cousin's place, and I was sort of big noting, and I've got this business, and this is quite a few years ago now, like maybe 25 years ago. And he called me aside, and he said, mate. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "You've turned into an asshole."
Yep.
And I was like, shit, I have, right?
Yep.
And I realized that, I'd left New Zealand, this sort of like, entrepreneurial sort of Kiwi kid, and I'd actually let, fame and fortune go to my head. And I'd turned into an asshole. I really, honestly, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I went, wow, this is not who I want to be. And so I decided to change everything. And so I then reinvented myself and started a new business here in New Zealand, which was all about helping people become reaching their full potential.
Mm.
And that was the precursor to the zone where I'm currently now, and which is about helping organizations become exceptional. So that was my story about getting to becoming the CEO and founder of the zone. That's been now since 1999.
Okay.
I've worked in 35 different countries around the world.
Wow.
With hundreds of different types of companies and thousands of different people. And it's been a real journey of joy, helping people become, exceptional leaders, exceptional teams, and exceptional organizations, rather than being sort of mediocre and just accepting that this is okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's about making them more human. So our sort of ethos is become exceptional by being more human.
I love it. So you must have worked with some really interesting companies, in 35 countries around the world, all different types of businesses, and it's generally the bigger businesses that you work with, isn't it?
Yeah. So we've created a niche with the sort of the larger businesses. So most of our businesses we work with are like 500 to 20,000 people. We could work with bigger companies if we want. I've got a team of like now 17 people around the world, and we enjoy that. Because two reasons: because you're making a bigger impact, so you're making an impact on a larger number of people.
Yeah.
And why I enjoy working with organizations is because they get behind borders. So a lot of the companies we work with are country organizations, they're global organizations. They might be in 10, 20 different places. So, one of my favorite jobs was back in about 2011 when we had 19,000 people in 14 countries, and we completely changed the culture of the organization
across all those borders.
And how we did it was, you might say, how the hell did you do that?
That's my next question. Yeah.
But what we did, we trained 150 of their people. So we have a technology we call the Zone Way, which is a way of engaging and upscaling and making organizations and teams and leaders exceptional. And we trained them in that methodology, but we started with a methodology called appreciative inquiry. And for those of you who don't know what appreciative inquiry is, it's based on positive psychology. So if you go into a room and ask people what's wrong, they love telling you what's wrong with the business, right? They'll say, "Oh, this is wrong, that's wrong, this is terrible." But what this researcher found is that when he was doing research on this, he found that the number of people coming to see him to tell what the business wrong started to decline, and nothing really changed in the business, right? So he thought, I wonder if it's the way I'm asking the questions. So then he asked some neutral questions, and the attendance went up, but still started to taper off. And he thought, I wonder what happened if I asked just positive questions like, when we're at our best, what do you see?
Yep.
And when you're at your best, what do you see? And what are the things that really enable people to be at their best here? And what he noticed was people went away feeling energized, excited, and more people were queuing up to come and do an interview with him. Yeah.
Okay.
And what he found is through that process alone, change started to happen, because he was changing our natural human lens from looking for what's wrong to looking at what's right. Because we're naturally wired to look for the dangers, because it's a survival technique, right?
Yeah.
So when you ask people to look for the positives, you get a whole different mindset, and people start then looking at all the positives in what they do, and they do more of the positive things, which means there's naturally less time to do the negative things, right? So you just get rid of those naturally. And you still need to lean into some things that are broken.
Sure.
But it's a different mindset. So that was pretty interesting.
I think it's part of what we employ in the whole level 10 meeting, which you start off with we call it good news. The very first part of the agenda is good news, personal, professional, and the idea is just get people in that positive kind of mindset and thinking about working on things rather than being down in the you've got the fires.
Yeah. Well, there's a really good talk that was done by a guy called Sean Accor. It's I think about 2014 now. It's a TED talk.
Right.
Watch that. So if you put that in your show notes, it's a TED talk and it's called The Happy Secret to Better Work.
Right.
And it's one that we show all of our clients, and it's all about positive mindset gives you positive results.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a lot of research and a lot of data that actually backs that up. So, and it's a really funny talk too. So
Okay,
it's worth watching.
I should pop that in the links. Wonderful. Okay, so in terms of, working with all these different businesses, what have been some of the challenges that you've seen in these businesses because they're all continuing to grow, aren't they?
Yeah. So they're all primarily growth businesses.
Yep.
And what you find is it's probably no different than the small business, to be honest, just at a different scale. So we can share notes on this, but as they grow, I'll tell a story that I tell, which might amplify it a little bit, which is you have 3 riders on the back of an elephant.
Yep.
And one wants to go straight ahead, one wants to go left, and one wants to go right. So, one that's trying to maneuver the elephant straight ahead, and one at the back wants to go left, one at the and so the elephant's getting confusing messages about direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does an elephant do when it has confusing messages? Do you know?
Well, sit down? I don't know. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, almost. It stops.
Yeah.
Now, if you think of the elephant as your organization,
yes,
and the 3 riders on the back as your leadership team or your leaders in your team, if you have, messages that are misaligned, or you have misalignment at the top, it's going to slow your organization down or stop it. Because what people naturally do, they want to do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So if one of the leaders is saying, this is our KPIs, and one of the leaders is saying, this is our KPI, and one of the others is saying, oh, no, this is our KPIs. If one of the leaders is moving at 10 miles an hour, the other one at 20, the other one at 50, that's exactly what happens. So your organization slows down, and people are then confused, and they go, oh, Deborah, what am I supposed to do here? Even though they would naturally know if the messages were aligned.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you hamstring your organization. You actually hamper it.
Yep.
You disable it. And that's what I find in the big organizations, because they have a big chain of communication from top to bottom.
Yep.
So it's like that old, whispers game where you sort of whisper.
Chinese whispers. Yes.
Yeah. Where you whisper something in one ear, and by the time it comes round to you, it's a completely different message. So that's what I find is one of the areas. The second area is culture. So quite often cultures will start to form in the organization because of these silos. So you'll have a different culture in finance, a different culture in marketing, a different culture in sales, a different culture in operations. And that creates another set of silos and misalignment. Then in order to try and solve for that problem, they introduce bureaucracy. So then they over process things.
Yes.
So then there's a SOP or a process for everything, and then everything slows down even more. And then you have to have meetings before the meeting to check whether the politics are right. Then there's the meeting, and then there's the meeting after the meeting, and then there's
it just reminds me of my 12 months at council. Sorry, for my sins, I worked 12 months at the Auckland City Council. It was exactly like that.
Right. Well, that's the problem with big organizations, and it's about getting rid of all that BS.
Yeah.
Getting rid of the bureaucracy, getting rid of the misalignment, getting rid of the agendas, right? And I use an analogy of a fishbowl for your culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, okay, so imagine you've got this fishbowl, and every time you add a bit of bureaucracy or politics or hidden agendas or miscommunication, that's polluting the water, right? So you have this fantastic fish that's in the water, and she's come in from the best university. She's super resilient, like she wants to change the world, and she's like, yay, let's get in there.
Yeah.
And then she gets, oh, I'm too busy for you, or oh, you have to have 10 signatures to do that. Oh, you have to, there's a meeting before the. And so this water starts getting polluted, and the fish starts to get sick. Now, what do you do when the fish starts to get sick in polluted water? You change the water, or do you change the fish? Now, what you find is corporations do is they change the fish, right? When you ask kids, I go to schools and I ask kids this, and I say, hey, what do you do? And they go, change the water.
Yeah.
Right? Instead, and this is what happens in big organizations. The water gets cloudy, miscommunications, bureaucracy, and all those things. They start to dirty the water. The fish start getting sick of work, sick of all the BS. And then they start talking behind the water cooler or the seaweed, right? Yeah. And guess what? then they become part of the problem.
Yep.
And then they're actually polluting the water themselves. And when they realize that, they go, wow. And then they leave. And that's what happens when you have this talent or brain drain. And it can happen the same for countries.
Yep.
You know,
like in New Zealand, they say it's happening right now.
Yeah. Like it's crazy. You know, we have such an amazing country here. And, you know, I've traveled a lot and we have so much good here, so much we could do. So we just need the right direction and, you know, Kiwis would get behind it. And I think, you know, what do they say? You know, there's always trouble with idle hands. So if people are working towards something collectively, then we can do great things. So
okay. So when you first start with an organization, what is the first thing that you actually do?
Probably not rocket science, but the first thing I do is, let's say I'm talking to the CEO, and I'm talking to the CEO, and I say, okay, tell me what the problems are. And I wait for the CEO to start pointing fingers because this is the perfect moment. Oh,
it's the people. Oh,
it's the people, it's technology or someone in my team. And then I say, okay, great, cool. So I'm just going to stop you there, make an intervention. So who recruited this person? Oh, I did. Okay. Right.
Excellent.
Okay. And who's leading this organization? Well, I am. Okay, cool. So the first thing is to look in the mirror. Because if you're playing the blame game, then you can't be taking full responsibility for what you have created. Okay. And everyone has, you know, unless you're a brand new CEO and you're coming in and you're not been part of the problem, there's the issue straight away. So first of all, do you take responsibility and accountability for what has been created? Because if you don't, you're not going to fix it. And the second thing then I do is, okay, cool. Now, what was your vision when you came here? Or what is your vision? What do you really want to create? What would amazing, what would exceptional look like to you? Not just ordinary, not just a little bit better. You know, shoot, sky's the limit. Because that stretch in consciousness helps people wake up. Because then they are held to a higher account. I say, okay, so if that now becomes your CEO, so you're no longer the CEO, but your dreamers, and you report to that dream, then we start getting things really interesting happen, right? Oh, okay, so I'm not really the CEO. I'm just like a caretaker
of that dream.
And then, you know, quite often I'll have a meeting then with the exec team and have the same process with all of the exec team. So I sort of do a discovery process with all of the exec team, and then I'll put it all together and present it back to them. And, you know, often I'll have a situation where I'll talk about, okay, so you're all here now because you've fought your way to the top, right? And that's what's got you here. But that's not going to get you to be a leader of an enterprise. Because as a leader of an enterprise, you need to collaborate across the whole organization. And if you're not fully aligned and you're not got each other's backs and you're not fully committed to each other's, you know, success, we have a problem. So it's a little bit like I use an analogy, the difference between an Olympic team, which is flying the same flag, everyone's trying to get gold medals, right? And hey, we'll win, but you're winning for your discipline before you're winning for the country. The winning for the country just happens to happen when you count up the medals. That's one form of team, but that's not the sort of team you need for an enterprise. You need a team that's collaborating, like a football team or a netball team or a rugby team, or, you know,
they're all playing for the greater good.
So we've got a common shared greater good vision, goal, what their good looks like. We're all playing different positions or different functions, and then we go from there.
I'd never thought about the Olympic team like that, but you're right. It is very, very different. Okay.
And the other thing is you know, agile is very popular today as a word, right? And I've seen lots and lots of agile implementations around the world, successful and unsuccessful. And what happens is that a lot of companies are actually structured like a matrix, right? So they'll have a functional accountability and they'll have a cross-functional accountability, because cross-function is usually how they launch products or do things. And they want the organization to be more agile, but they put the structure in place, which is matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
And agile and matrix have two fundamental different,
completely different ways of operating it.
Yeah, completely different ways of operating. So you have to, in order for the agile way to work inside of a matrix, it's the agile mindset, understanding how to work in a matrix organization. And in a matrix organization, it's always the cross points where the function meets the cross function that you have an opportunity for conflict. But you also have an opportunity for creativity. So, what I teach people is how at that cross point to work collaboratively and to unlock creativity, or what we call collective intelligence, rather than hit conflict. And then you unlock incredible value for the organization when you unlock this collaboration and collective intelligence. So I call it the collaborative advantage. I'm writing a book on that right now.
Excellent. So when's that going to be released?
Probably next year, I'd say. Yeah. So you first heard it on this podcast.
Excellent. I look forward to that.
Because I keep hearing people talking about competitive advantages, and that I understand that. What makes you different, what makes you stand out, what makes you different from your competitors. But all true enterprises are collaborative. Yeah. Because if you're not collaborative, you can't compete. Right? So collaborative is actually underpinning competitive. And it comes back to, my love of nature. As you know, I'm also big into sustainability, permaculture, regenerative agriculture, and that's really important to me. Yep. And if you look at natural systems, they're very much collaborative systems. And they can live in harmony, which seems like competition.
Yes.
So it's pretty cool. So that's the basis of understanding this whole collaborative advantage that we have. And if you lose that and you start competing, particularly on the inside, you're going to be in trouble.
Okay. I look forward to that book coming out. I want to take you back, if I may, to your original business in the recruitment business. I'm assuming because you had, how many staff was it in the end?
600
staff and $30 million. Okay. How quickly did you grow, and what were the sort of some of the challenges you came across?
I had that business for 21 years. Exactly. So we went through three 7-year cycles. We actually went through three recessions fundamentally, and the first one was the most brutal, because that was when I had about 40 people and we had to go down to 7. And it was tough, and making those hard calls was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because when you hand select 40 people,
they're your family.
They're your family, and you know that they have families, and that times are tough. And sure, you can go through and say, okay, let's look at the bottom 10% of performers and the top 10%, and you can do it that way. But when you're in a recession, and things are going to change very quickly negatively, if you hold on too long, you're going to run out of cash. And that's the truth. And not that money's the purpose of business. It's like the oxygen is to living. So you need it to live. It's not the purpose of your life, but you need, particularly nowadays in today's world, you need cash to live. And that's just the fact of life. So that was the hardest thing I ever did, probably, in my whole career.
Yeah, I can imagine. How did you handle those conversations with people?
With a lot of tears. So it was one-on-one with every single person. And of course, once you start, the word gets out, and you have to do it real quick. And we knew we were going to have to do this for about 3 months. And to be honest, I delayed it longer than I should have. But we made sure that we did it at the optimal time for people. So we had a long weekend coming up, and so I just did everyone on a Thursday and a Friday personal conversation, face to face in those days. And that meant me traveling to them, because we had people in different places. And so I went round and I did it, and some people were really pissed off, which was hard, and some people took it well, and some people collapsed. And you just think, wow, That was me doing that. I had that ripple effect on people, and that was tough, and that was a hard lesson. And the lesson from that is that grow responsibly came from that. Grow responsibly and look at the macro trends. So, I was very myopic in those days. I was just looking at my business.
How it's going. And
I wasn't looking at what was happening in the macro environment. And so I missed what was happening in the macro environment. And I think as a leader, you need to understand your business for sure. Understand your marketplace, but understand also the macro environment about what's going to happen. And you make a call based on that. You're not always going to be right, but it's better to be forearmed.
Yeah, and say if you've got a, you can then have. I always talk about having, there's the main plan, but you have to have other plans that are there just in case.
The plan B.
The smash in case of emergency kind of plan.
Yeah, exactly. Break glass here.
Yeah. You can't do that if you've done that. So we talked about this before we came into the podcast. So this whole macro, being really aware of the macro environment. Can you give me some examples of things people should be looking to in terms of understanding that macro environment?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of good data in New Zealand if you read a lot of the bank reports, a lot of the bank economists, and look, if you look at their ability to predict the future, it's a little bit like the weather. Right? We've been predicting weather for like 150 years and we still can't get it right. You know what I mean? So you have to take it with a grain of salt. But if everybody is predicting, hey, things are going to get tougher, and you're not an economist, I would then go to an advisor and actually sit down with someone who really knows and say, hey, look, this is where my business is. What do you think we should do to hedge for the future? I was on a call this morning with one of my clients in Southern California, in Brentwood, which is just north of Santa Monica. And their business is down 66%. They're in the multifamily housing business, and they do loans for the 200-300 million worth of property. And on Tuesday, the new economic data is coming out for the US. And so when that comes out, they'll know whether they need to make cuts or not. And that'll be sort of a quarter ahead in the cycle. So they know if the economic data is good, then we're okay. We'll probably start recovering. If it's neutral, we're probably okay. If it's negative, then they're pretty sure that the next quarter is going to be brutal, and they could drop another 30%, and so they're going to have to make some hard calls.
As you said, it's just about being prepared for that, isn't it? So it's better to not be blindsided, but actually knowing that is a potential opportunity, and it may never happen.
Well, we didn't. No one knew about COVID. No one knew about where where it was going, what it was going to do, and what the impacts were. But now we know enough so that we can know that there will be an impact. The global financial crisis, New Zealand weathered the storm very well in that, and the government saying, hey, I think we'll weather this this recession very well, and we very much could do. We might, but you've got to have a plan B, as you say, and maybe even a plan C, right? And maybe it's time to look at, I've been struggling with this business for a while, and maybe it's time to retire it, because you've got to also know when to get out, right? Because I know a lot of small business owners love their businesses. It's
their baby.
It's a baby. And maybe it's only paying them a wage plus, right? And it's not really a business per se. But they need to go, hey, am I prepared for more hard times? Have I got the energy? Have I got the motivation? Have I got the capital behind me if things go wrong?
It's really interesting. Gino, who wrote the EOS model and whatnot, he talks about the fact that in every 10 years, we generally have kind of, a couple of good years, 3 or 4 kind of average years, and there's always 1 year in every 10 that has the potential to completely destroy you. And you've got to be prepared for that. And it's naive to think that it's not going to happen. And I think sadly a lot of, probably there's more the small business owners, but even some of the medium-sized ones do get affected by it. It's that they haven't got the plans in place. They haven't got that 6 months worth of cash flow. sitting in the bank ready to get
Yeah.
them through it, and having the plans to make decisions quickly. Because sometimes you have to, as you said, if you hadn't made those decisions quickly, sure, it affected a lot of people's lives, but it meant you could come back and you could then affect a whole lot more lives going forward.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the, probably a third of those 40 people came back.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good news. Excellent.
But I mean, that was the good news. But of course, you know, sometimes you lose faith with people, and so it's, you know, it's not good.
It is what it is. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So I often ask, or if I always ask, I guess, to give 3 kind of top tips. We like to be quite pragmatic on here. So if you think about, you know, mid-sized kind of business owners, what are the 3 things that you've either learned from working in your own business or working with the amazing business you work with that you would take both from a personal and professional point of view?
Well, one of the things that we do is we say that there's the 3 levers of performance.
Yep.
And that's strategy, culture, and execution.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know EOS is probably one of the best execution platforms out on the planet. So if you haven't got really good execution, then you need to really lean into that. Mm-hmm. If you haven't got a really good culture that supports the strategy, then you need to really lean into that, because you're going to lose talent. And when times are tough, you don't want to lose talent, because talent's usually the first people to go. And then you can make sure you have a right strategy. Yeah. Right. So you've got a vision for who you want to be, or what you want to become, or what you want the business to do. Make sure you've got the right strategy. You're going to do the right things, because strategy is really just about choices. Yep. You know, you've got all these choices you could choose. Which ones are you going to choose? And maybe you'll choose them right, maybe you'll choose them wrong. And just a nuance within that strategy. Many years ago, strategy used to be set for like 5 years, 10 years, right? You remember those days.
Yeah.
The strategy documents.
Sadly, yes.
You know, and they sort of sat in the bottom drawer, and they came out once a year, and people would say, oh yeah, we're pretty much on track, but no one measured it. Mm-hmm. Well, now you have to be much more agile with your strategy. So what you have to do with strategy nowadays is relook at it every quarter. So every quarter, I would say, and I know this is an EOS thing too, but but it's just common sense. It's good business practice to get your leadership team together. And that doesn't just mean your executive, by the way, because they aren't always the implementers. So get your wider leadership team together, get them in a room and say, what are you feeling now? Where are we going? How are we tracking on track? What's the data say? What does the market say? Once a quarter. And if you just do that for a day or two, will transform your business. So that's your strategy element. Yep. Your culture is what supports it. Culture is what supports it. So if your culture is not quite right, then you need to relaunch it, right? And there'll be people in your culture, and that's mindset and behavior culture, right? It's the mindset of the people and the behavior of the people, right? Yep. So if your mindset's not right, you're not going to crack it. If the behaviors aren't right, it's not going to crack it. And the behaviors are also not only the things you do, but the things you allow to be done, right? And a lot of people miss this one. Yeah. You know, so if there's someone in the corner and they're performing quite well, but they're a bit of a shark, and they're using other people's resources and goodwill to actually drive their performance, and they're a bit of a silo, it's a hard one because they're performing, but the damage that they're doing long term is what you have to look into. So strategy, culture, and then have very good execution. Very good execution. And we have an execution process which we call moments of truth. So we look out, 90 days and say, okay, what are the moments of truth that we have as an organization? And people might call it milestones, but there's lots of other moments of truth that could be like our long-range plan, board presentation, right? So there's moments of truth that are beyond just delivery milestones. There's when we have to show up at our best, when we have to be exceptional. What are those moments of truth for our customers, our people, our teams, for our investors? What are those moments of truth? And then we really nail those moments of truth. And if you get people focused on, being exceptional at those times, the other things sort of like line up. So those are the 3 things that I'd say: focus on your strategy, get that right, culture, get that right, and then your execution, And if you want an execution partner, I'm going to plug EOS.
You haven't got to do that, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, absolutely. Well, the reason why I do plug it is because I've seen it in action.
Yep.
So probably I've got about 5 or 6 clients that run EOS at the moment.
Yep.
And they're big clients and they love it.
Yeah.
They love it. It's like it's just a process that really, and a structure that really supports their execution.
Yeah.
So I'm a big advocate of it. And I know there's other methodologies out there, but
and we always say, like, you just need to pick a system and stick with it.
Yeah.
So we'd love it to be EOS, of course, but it doesn't matter.
No,
you've got to just pick one, stick to it, and you'll get the results from it.
Yeah. There's lots out there, and I work closely with YPO as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the YPOs will implement different models, or they'll have their own model, or whatever it is. But it's the fact that they implement it like clockwork.
Yeah.
That's the thing that makes the difference.
Yes.
It's like
consistency.
You're talking about the same things. You allow room for sideways gravity to come in, right?
Yeah.
So it's not so tight that you can't allow for creativity or things that come out of the blue, or people to speak up and just say, I don't know, my gut's telling me, you have to allow room for that.
Yeah.
That element of human creativity and insight to creep into your system, and then you can adjust.
Yeah.
Right. So don't try and suppress those views and that diversity. Try and encourage it and have it as a voice, and go, yeah, bring it out. Let's hear what you're thinking. Right. Because it might be totally just imagination.
Yep.
Right.
There could be something in it.
Or there could be something in it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we call collective intelligence.
Yeah.
Like, why dumb down the room? Yes. When you can unlock it and unlock the potential.
I give an example. I was working with a company the other day who actually does food manufacture stuff. So they've got a chef who's on the leadership team, and we're having some issues financially. So we're talking about cash flow and financial stuff. And it was actually the chef that came up with the solution in the end.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't his area of accountability, responsibility, but nevertheless, because we're all working for the greater good, we're all going, well, how can we contribute? And it's just that diversity of thought, I think, that can really challenge some of the things you do.
Yeah, well, we're all in the same boat, basically, and we should all be rowing in the same direction, and if we are, then everybody's voice is equal. And at the end of the day, the role of the CEO or whatever it is to maybe take some hard decisions, but also to empower their team to take most of the decisions, and for their teams to empower most of their teams to take more of the decisions that are interfacing with your customers or your clients, or however because they are there, Johnny on the spot. Yeah.
They're the representation of your entire business brand. Name it. Yeah.
I forget what was it, Mike Tyson, who said, you can have, the fight plan can be as great until you get the first punch. You know what I mean? And then you're like, wow.
Whoa, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a little bit like life, and it's never been a straight line for me, and I've never met anyone whose life has ever been a straight line.
No, we kind of get taught that even with business, we've got that whole hockey stick growth thing. I've never seen that in a business yet. No. I shouldn't say never. I have seen one outlier that definitely did do that, but in general terms, there's lots of little blips on the way.
It's like a whole regression analysis, isn't it? It's like all these dots scattered across a line, and you draw a straight line through it. That's for statistical purposes. That's not life.
That's not life at all. So I'm just really interested. I mean, I love the fact that you're talking about giving accountability back to people and putting it back on them. I think that's really important. It's kind of like letting go, but within the boundaries and the things that you've set within your culture and within your measurables. For my listeners who tend to be a little bit more mid-sized, potentially looking to grow into that next level up, any kind of last words of advice for them in terms of, because you had 600 staff, that's a significant size business. What changed? Was there anything that changed in between being a mid-sized to being a slightly larger business?
I think fundamentally I set the culture. We set the vision. And then we systematized. Right. I don't think there's any magic.
No.
Right. You can't scale a business when it's like you're reinventing the wheel all the time. Right. Well, how do we do this? Now, I'll tell you what, I was chatting to someone the other day. And this is how bad their scaling is. Now, they've got 800 people. We were chatting on a completely different topic. So I was training these champions to go around and re-energize the business. We were getting them to talk about the vision, the strategy, the values, and the finances, and how to have low cost or no cost ideas, right? Because the business was struggling. So I'm on the call there, and someone says, "Oh, one of the people in the workshop said, that's terrible. We need to get better systems." And she said, "Well, what's an example?" And she said, "Oh, I spent 2 weeks creating this mail merge document to send out to all our drivers, and it took me ages, and I had to get all the emails and then send them out one by one." And she said, "Have you ever heard of this thing called mail merge?" And she went, "No." And she showed her this thing where she could import all of the email addresses into one spreadsheet with pretty easy, and then just press a couple of buttons.
Off you go, send it. Yeah.
And it went out by email. And she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know we could do that." Right. Now, on the same call, there was someone who said, "Yeah, I had the same thing in a workshop I did, and they didn't even know we had DocuSign." And the woman that said in the other, she said,
"What's DocuSign?
Have we got DocuSign?"
Yeah.
And he went, "Yeah." She went, "Oh my God, I didn't know we had DocuSign." And they've been working together for 4 months.
Right. I have no idea. Right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. Yeah.
That's an example. If you don't systematize your business, and that, you'll never be able to scale it. So that would be my advice to, that small to medium sized enterprise, to really look at how are we going to scale? How are we going to automate things? How do we do things that still deliver to the customer experience, that still deliver to the people experience, but take away all that friction that's unnecessary? Because as you know, one of the other things that I do is I'm a flow coach.
Yes.
Right. So, and flow is all about, one of the elements is about taking friction out of your life. So when you wake up in the morning, if you've got 15 decisions before you can even get out the door, you've just wasted a huge part of your mental capacity, right? Yes. You're going to be exhausted getting out the door. You think, "Oh my God, thank God I got," get into the car. You think, "Oh my God, I can have a rest on the way to work," right? You're already fried.
Yeah. And it's just simple things, isn't it? Like, I actually have a uniform.
Right.
I have a uniform for work, and it's just a handful of dresses, and always the same jewelry, and always it's just consistent.
Yeah.
Which means in the morning I wake up and I go, right, pick a dress, put on the jewelry.
Yeah. You've got,
off I go. Yeah.
3 or 4 choices at max, and then that's similar sorts. 3 or 4 choices for breakfast, and just get on with it, because what you look like and what you eat for breakfast. Sure, what you eat for breakfast, nutrition is important, sure. but if you're wanting to make a difference in the world, then the time that you've got to make a difference, that's where you want to be in flow. That's where you want to be at your best. That's what you want to be exceptional at. So all the other bits and pieces, take out the friction. Take out all the friction. And if you spend all your day in the morning, one client I had recently here in New Zealand, what he did, he said, "Oh, I've got a good routine in the morning." I said, "Oh, what do you do?" He says, "Well, I get up in the morning. I get up about like 5:36. I go down, I make myself a coffee. I grab the Herald and I sit in bed and read the Herald. And then, And I said, "Oh, okay, cool. How do you feel at the end of that?" He said, "Yeah, I feel a bit tired." And I'm like, "Dude, you have just wasted the best 90 minutes of your morning."
Day. Yeah. Reading news, doom and gloom,
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Shit, I hadn't thought of that." I said, "You've got dogs, haven't you?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay. So tomorrow, what I want you to do is get up in the morning, don't have a coffee first thing for a start, just get some blue light, and because that's a stimulant, getting out in the morning. Take your dogs for an hour's walk or 45 minutes walk, and just whistle along and play, meet other people, and get yourself some exercise. Then come back. What are you going to nail this day? Well, how are you going to win the day? How are you going to win the week? All right, think about that. Grab yourself a coffee, and then do your most creative, high-value work while you've got all of your attention freed up. You're in the best energy space you possibly could be. That's some. And I didn't charge him for this, by the way. He paid for lunch, though.
Excellent.
He's called me back later, and he said, "That's changed my life." So the Herald, we've lost your reader. But
I used to be an avid watcher of the news, but the first thing I do when I get home from work in the evening, I'm even video on my Sky and then watch it. And I suddenly realized it wasn't doing any good, and I stopped doing all that. And we now do go for a walk every morning with the dogs, rain, hail or shine. We bought ourselves some great wellies, and we go out there and we splash in the puddles. And I tell you what, it is just the best way to start the day. And when you don't do it, that's when you actually feel a bit bleh.
And you can talk about you can talk about the business or ideas. Hey,
Yeah.
like that's why ideas come to you when you're relaxed.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you relax, you shut down this prefrontal cortex,
Mm-hmm.
which is your thinking brain or the CEO brain, and you access your pattern recognition system.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden ideas come. So you're in the shower, like, and wow,
Pen. Yeah.
Where's the pen? Where's the pen?
Yeah.
Quickly write it on the mirror or something.
Yes.
Or, you're going for a walk, or, you meet a friend, and you just have such good energy.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the car on the way back. You think of a new idea.
Yeah. No, completely agree. I did actually had another podcast guest who talked all about that stuff, and I was blown away. But I remember you doing the talk at the Connected Communities. I mean, again, it was something that really struck me, and I've completely forgotten it now. But it was just around that whole flow is like not wasting that perfect time.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I know we could talk for hours because we
could.
already have, but I also know you've got a huge amount of resources available that can actually help people. I mean, you've got some great case studies on your website. You've got, have you already written a book? Or is this going to be your first book?
This is my first real book. I wrote a short book for my TED Talk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
your TED Talk. So what is your TED Talk title?
It's the TED Talk title is What's Really Killing Us. Because I did that in 2014.
Yep.
And what I saw was, and through my experiences, how people are suffering at work. And work is not engaging or inspiring for most people. Most people, it's clock in, clock out.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that from the research from Gallup, for example. It was like 60% of people, all they do is clock in and clock out just to get a paycheck. This is global.
I can't get my head around that, but I can appreciate it.
Yeah. And then there's 15% of people are actually going the extra mile, and there's a whole bunch of other people that actually are undermining the business.
Right.
And this was global statistics.
Mm-hmm.
And you just look at that, and that's what you see inside organizations. They're just operating at mediocre. They can't stand the next meeting. They sort of check out in meetings, and they check out at work. They get their paycheck, but they're not happy.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw around the world. And so someone asked me to speak at a TED Talk, and that was the title of my talk. Right. That was What Is Really Killing Us. Mm-hmm. And it's a 4-letter word called work. And it's just the way that work is set up. And we can set up work so much differently to be exceptional, to be excited. Not every day. We all still have to fill in our tax forms and stuff and whatever. But those are the small things. Mm-hmm. Don't let those small things distract us from the bigger game, which is how much impact we can make and how much we can change things, or how much value we can add to clients, and how excited they feel when they're using our product or service. That's great when you see the spark in the eyes and stuff. That's what we're here for. Yeah.
So where can I'll put the TED Talk link in the podcasting as well. Where can people find more information about you, and how can they contact you?
So I'm on LinkedIn as Liam Forde.
Yep.
We've also got a Zone Global LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. You can follow us on there, or you can look at the website, which is www.thezone.co.
Okay.
.com was taken by the diet people.
Oh, was it? Of course, the Zone. Well,
when I started the Zone, I was in New Zealand. I didn't think of .com back then. So that was like 20 odd years ago.
Okay, so thezone.co, excellent. And LinkedIn for both yourself personally and also for the company as well.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I'd give you my email and a phone number, but you'd probably swamp me. So,
hey, look, really, really appreciate you coming in. Spending some time with me before this, but also giving you time for the podcast. I have to say, it's great to be back in person again. So,
isn't it?
Yeah, the energy is always a little bit different, I think. So,
yeah. And you've got such a great setup here for podcasts too.
Yeah.
You've got a great setup here too. I'll probably steal it from you one day.
No worries at all. Hey, look, thank you very much for coming in, for sharing all your wisdom and whatnot. Look forward to talking again soon.
Yeah, well, obviously it's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we're going to collaborate together and do some great stuff.
Let's make a huge difference. We'd love to do that.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.